Okay, so let's talk about the practice problems for today. All right, this first page, front and back, is mostly conceptual stuff. So they're asking you to identify which type of lenses these are. This one has you drawing just how the light ray is going to bend once it hits that barrier. Okay, so remember we talked about bending towards the normal. We talked about bending away from the normal. The one thing that this will not do is cross the normal boundary there, okay? So be careful with that. And then it asks you some questions about that down here. And then the back side is just a couple of more questions about the ray diagrams. This is asking you for those 3 rules of drawing them that we just talked about in the slideshow. The slideshow is on Canvas, so if you want to look at it without looking at any videos, it is there in the Direct Teach, okay? Okay, and then more questions about that. Then it goes to the page where we got to practice drawing them. So let's draw a couple. So I'm going to do one that is outside of, or that's further away from the lens than the focal point. And then I'm going to do one that's between the lens and the focal point, and we can look at how different those were, okay? All right, so I'm going to do number 1 first. So I figure out what pens I'm using here. Okay, so the first ray we're going to draw. Oh, great. I lost my protractor. There it is. I can't draw straight lines. You probably are going to have some problems on here a few times with the lines, even if you use a ruler. Sometimes you got to make some slight adjustments, okay? You will know, obviously, when an object is not going to have an image because the lines are going to be nowhere near each other, okay? All right, so let's look at drawing that first ray. So the first ray we're going to draw is the ray that is parallel to that principal axis from the top of our object, okay? For lenses, we just have all of the rays originate at the top of the object. You don't necessarily have to, but it just makes it easier, okay? Alright, then once it hits the lens, it's going to bend or refract down through the focal point. Oh, I need to make it longer. My biggest mistake is always not making the diagram with the long enough rays. And then they don't intersect, and then I got to draw in more rays. Alright, then the second ray we're going to draw is going to go from the top of the object through the center of the lens. We know it's the center because it's the part along the principal axis, okay? So I'm going to draw that one. And then we'll draw a third one for good measure. We could already tell where the object is going to be from that second ray there, but let's go ahead and draw the third one. The third one's going to go from the top of the object through the focal point on this side. Till it hits the lens. And then once it hits the lens, it's going to refract or bend. And it's going to be parallel to that principal axis. And the point where the 3 of them converge is where the top of your object is. And there's your image. So it made it upside down, it's inverted, and it's much smaller than the original image. Also, I do have rulers that I set out on lab table number 6. So if you want to use a ruler, there are rulers there. You can grab, yeah, you can grab a ruler if you want to grab a ruler. It makes it a little bit easier to get them straight. This one's not exactly straight, but it's close enough. Okay, those are probably the easiest ones. The ones where the object is further away than the focal point from the lens. Okay? Are we okay with that one? Those are the easy ones. The other two are the ones that are going to be kind of tricky. Okay? Alright, I'm going to the next page then. We're going to do number 5. Okay, we're going to do number 5. So we're going to this one. Number 5. You're welcome. Alright, so this one's going to be a little bit different. We're still going to draw that first ray the same way we did on the last one. Ooh, I can't say ray and way at the same time. It's still going to be parallel to that principal axis and go straight to the lens like that. It is still going to bend down through the focal point. So this is the easiest one to draw, okay? That one's going to be the same as it was on the last one. Parallel to the principal axis point and then down through the focal point on the other side of the lens. The one through the center of the lens is also not going to be too difficult to draw. That one's not going to change. So I'm going to go ahead and draw that one. Well, that was not very good. Let me see if I can get it a little more through the center. So top of the object through the center. Oops, and that one keeps going. Okay, but these don't look like they're going to come together anywhere, right? What we have to do for these is trace them backwards. So we're going to follow along this ray, and I'm going to make a dashed line going back the other direction because there's not an actual light ray there. I'm going to do the same thing for the refracted part of that first ray we drew. I'm going to trace it backwards with a dotted line. So where does it look like the image for this one's going to be? In front of it on this side, or is it going to be behind it? It's going to be behind it where those intersected. Okay? We could do a third ray for good measure. This is the one that's going to go, I draw it from the second part first. It's going to go from that intersection point. The dashed line, this will be a virtual image because it's not where actual light rays converge. So my rays do something like this. And then of course that one goes parallel now to the principal axis. Okay, so instead of that one going through the focal point on this side, well, technically it does. If I trace it backwards, technically it aligns with that focal point. So my image is over here. This is the top of the image because where the light waves intersect is the top because those are the light waves we're using. So my image becomes much larger. I cannot draw a pencil. You get the idea. That's my image. So we had a virtual image that's upright and behind the original, behind where the object is, and it's much bigger. So we get that magnifying effect there. So the question came up earlier about convex lenses, if they always make things smaller or bigger. The first object we did, it made the object smaller. So when it's further away from the lens than the focal point, the object was smaller. When it is, the object is between the lens and the focal point, it made the object much larger. So you're going to draw ray diagrams for a couple other positions. be aware there may be some where you don't get an image. If you don't get any light rays converging or perceived light rays converging, you don't have an image there, okay? Does that make sense? All right, let's do a convex then. We'll just go ahead and do number 6. All right, so let's start with the same one we've been starting with, and that is the one that goes parallel to the principal axis and then down through the focal point. I think I made it green. I'm trying to be consistent with colors. Okay, so it's going to be parallel to the principal axis, and then it's going to bend or refract. Sorry, we're on convex now. Do not listen to me. It's not going to go down through the focal point there. It's going to bend up and away, but it will align with the focal point here. So it's going to bend up and away like that. Okay? So I'm going to put the dashed line here. The light ray doesn't originate from there, but it's perceived to originate from there. Alright, then I'm going to draw the line that goes from the top through the focal point. Okay, that one's probably the easiest one to do because that one doesn't change much. Oh, except for I can't draw these lines very good apparently today. Let's try that one more time. Alright, top of the object through the focal point. So we can kind of see where it looks like our image is probably going to be. We got one ray left. Trying to figure out which one I didn't draw yet. Oh, I forgot to bend this one. Hello. No. Yeah, this one's supposed to bend. I'm sorry. You're okay. It happens. I'm looking at the wrong one. All right, hold on. Hold on. Let me draw the whole thing, and then you're going to be okay, and you're going to be like, oh, okay, I see it now. It's going to go parallel, but we do have... Oops. It still is even with that focal point. It just doesn't, it bends. And I forgot to bend it. Okay, there we go. So that should have been dashed. Sorry, it bends it there. My bad. My bad. It's okay. It's Friday. My brain wants to go home. It's the one through the principal axis in the center of the lens there. That's the one we don't have to do anything to. I'm sorry. So this one, if we trace it back, crisscrosses at that same spot. You can see where the 3 crisscross there. We're going to get a little tiny object that is upright. I'm just going to put a blob there. So, it's a virtual image because these are not where all the actual light rays converge or join. And it's also upright, which also tells us it's a virtual image. Sorry, it's been a long time since I've drawn these. That's not bad. But we got it right now. Alright, so you guys are going to do the rest for practice, and then you are going to do, there is a quiz over the light and mirrors. I highly suggest correcting your practice problems to make sure you have them right. If you have questions on these, let me know. I did already mention several of them will not have an image because no light rays cross each other, and so we don't get an image. Okay, that is possible.